Hello guys. Today we are here to share part 2. Name of the chater is The Problem. Please hold tight, stick with us, and enjoy the problem. Previously, we've seen how dopamine plays an important role from an evolutionary standpoint. In this section, we'll see why this neurotransmitter has been hijacked and what you can do to guard yourself against the dopamine traps we face in today's society. The neurotransmitter of more. You can think of dopamine as the molecule of more. This is because the more our environment or actions trigger the release of dopamine, the more we'll want our next shot of dopamine. In fact, this self-reinforcing mechanism is also how many addictions work. By continuously triggering the release of dopamine through different means such as drug or alcohol consumption, addicts actually strengthen their tolerance to such stimulation. As a result, they need stronger and stronger stimulus to experience the same sensation of pleasure. However, addictions are not just limited to drug or alcohol consumption. In truth, many activities can become somewhat addictive. For example, gambling, sex, shopping, thoughts rumination, video games, exercise to extreme, work. What about you? Are you currently addicted to anything? If you can't spend a day without engaging in a certain activity, it means you're probably a little addicted to it. Fortunately, as we'll see later, there are ways to limit the amount of stimulation we're exposed to each day. And, as we reduce our exposure to stimulating activities, we will naturally increase our focus and boost our productivity levels. Now, let's see how your dopamine neurotransmitter is being hijacked in today's world. More importantly, let's see the specific things you can do to regain control. Your dopamine neurotransmitters are being hijacked. Your focus is a scarce asset, which is why marketers spend billions of dollars to attract your attention. Many apps are designed to hook you. Social media companies like YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram know that the more time you spend on their platforms, the more money they make through advertising. Perhaps one of their greatest recent discoveries is the use of notifications. How many times have you opened an app just because a red notification pops up on your screen? And how much time did you waste subsequently? I wouldn't be surprised if it ran into hundreds of hours each year. And, thanks to ever more sophisticated algorithms, companies have become better at hooking us. Amazon's book recommendation system is more accurate and widespread than any system a physical bookstore could create. Likewise, YouTube suggestions are heavily customized, and Facebook's customer research algorithm is quite amazing too. As a demonstration, try the following experiment. Visit your newsfeed, watch a couple of suggested videos on a similar topic, and see what happens. The other day I watched a basketball video and immediately received a recommendation to view another one. So I watched it. And then, I watched another one, and so on. Now, the development of sophisticated algorithms has its pros and cons. On the plus side, it becomes easier to discover content you actually want to watch. On the negative side, it makes it easier to become stuck in a never-ending loop, watching one video after the other. In a sense, instead of using the internet to find information or communicate with loved ones, the internet has become the one using you. It does so by hijacking your focus and making you unproductive and, as a result, restless. Social media notifications are a great example of how your brain is being hijacked. Whenever you see a notification, you anticipate the reward you'll receive when clicking on it, which triggers the release of dopamine in your brain. However, this doesn't make you happy or fulfill you, at least not for long. Remember, dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. It is a neurotransmitter that is activated when you anticipate a potential pleasure, and that pleasure is usually temporary. Below are some other ways your dopamine neurotransmitters are being hijacked. Whenever you check your email, you're expecting a reward, which could be a message from a friend or some exciting news. Whenever you check stats, such as investment portfolio or website traffic stats, you expect a reward from seeing encouraging numbers, and the unpredictability makes it more exciting. Whenever you visit YouTube, you expect to watch interesting or exciting videos. Whenever you visit social media sites, such as Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, you're anticipating rewards such as likes or comments on your posts, messages from friends or interesting content. When you engage in any of the above activities, you risk becoming not only overstimulated but also distracted, and, as a result, you will lose your ability to focus. Whoever has succeeded in staying away from the internet or social media for a few days understands what a waste of time and focus such activities can be. What about you? How do you allow your dopamine neurotransmitters to be hijacked? Food craving. Hunting for food used to be one of our biggest drivers for action. Hunger, alongside the anticipation of a great reward food, leads us to act. And the food that gives us the most pleasure was highly nourishing, tasty, and often contained sugar. According to Professor Suzanne Klaus, a biologist at the German Institute of Human Nutrition in Potsdam, our craving for sweet foods is innate. Sugar triggers the release of dopamine and makes us feel good. She wrote, experiments have shown that the combination of sugar and fat is especially effective in stimulating the brain's reward system. Therefore, it's hardly surprising that we like to get our daily dose of sugar and fat, is it? However, these days, most of us live in a different environment. Although we still need to feed ourselves, the feeling of anticipation that drove our ancestors to search for food has become irrelevant. We can simply visit our local supermarket and buy what we want. There is no need to exert much effort, and, for most of us, food is plentiful. Yet, our biology has remained the same. We still experience that feeling of anticipation when being presented with rich food. This is where the food industry comes in. In this industry, marketers spend millions to encourage us to buy their products. They discovered that, by adding sugar, among other things, they can not only make the food more palatable, but they make us crave more. For this reason, if you look at the list of ingredients contained in any processed food, you'll find sugar in most of them. However, I should mention that, while there is a debate on the actual addictive power of sugar, it is unlikely to be as addictive as cocaine, as you might have read in some online articles. Robert Lustig, professor of pediatrics at the University of California, San Francisco, asserts that sugar is addictive, but on the same level as nicotine, not drugs like heroin. As Dr. Zayedin, a psychiatrist at the University of Cambridge, noted, the brain's reward system and the circuits that control eating behavior are the same ones that respond to drugs of abuse, but, unlike sugar, drugs of abuse seem to hijack those systems and turn off their normal controls. Furthermore, Tom Sanders, emeritus professor of nutrition and dietetics at King's College London, wrote, it is absurd to suggest that sugar is addictive like hard drugs. He also said, while it is true that a liking for sweet things can be habit-forming, it is not addictive like opiates or cocaine. Individuals do not get withdrawal symptoms when they cut sugar intake. To conclude, humans seem to have a natural craving for sugar and fat. While we may not be addicted to them per se, it might be a good idea to reduce our intake and lower our dependence on them, especially on sugar. Dopamine and constant stimulation can impair your ability to think long-term. Studies have shown that one of the best predictors of success is the ability to think long-term. People who repeatedly focus on where they want to be in the future make better decisions in the present. They tend to eat healthier food, be more productive at work, and save and invest more money than others. After extensive research into success, Dr. Edward Banfield of Harvard University concluded that long-time perspective was the most important determinant of financial and personal success in life. He defined long time as the ability to think several years into the future while making decisions in the present. Unfortunately, these days, focusing on our long-term goals isn't an easy feat. Many external forces lead us to become caught up in short-term thinking and encourage us to fall for immediate gratification. While we often know what we should be doing, we fail to do it. For example, we know we should eat healthily but binge eat on sweets or sugary beverages more than we should. We understand we should study, but we procrastinate by watching yet another series on Netflix. We can see the benefits of exercise, but we'd rather be sitting and chatting with friends on social media. I believe that social media, and the internet as a whole, have negatively impacted our ability to both think long-term and to focus deeply on the task in front of us. It is no surprise, therefore, that Apple CEO, Steve Jobs, prohibited his children from using phones or tablets even though his business was to sell millions of them to his customers. The billionaire investor and former senior executive at Facebook, Chamath Palihapitiya, argues that we must rewire our brain to focus on the long term, which starts by removing social media apps from our phones. In his words, such apps wire your brain for super fast feedback. By receiving constant feedback, whether through likes, comments, or immediate replies to our messages, we condition ourselves to expect fast results with everything we do. And this feeling is certainly reinforced through ads for schemes to help us get rich quick, and through cognitive biases, i.e., we only hear about the richest and most successful YouTubers, not about the ones who fail. As we demand more and more stimulation, our focus is increasingly geared toward the short term, and our vision of reality becomes distorted. This leads us to adopt inaccurate mental models such as, success should come quickly and easily, or, I don't need to work hard to lose weight or make money. Ultimately, this erroneous concept distorts our vision of reality and our perception of time. We can feel jealous of people who seem to have achieved overnight success. We can even resent popular YouTubers. Even worse, we feel inadequate. It can lead us to think we are just not good enough, smart enough, or disciplined enough. Therefore, we feel the need to compensate by hustling harder. We have to hurry before we miss the opportunity. We have to find the secret that will help us become successful. And, in this frenetic race, we forget one of the most important values of all: patience. No, watching motivational videos all day long won't help you reach your goals, but performing daily consistent actions, sustained over a long period of time will. Staying calm and focusing on the one task in front of you every day will. The point is to achieve long-term goals in your personal or professional life. You must regain control of your attention and rewire your brain to focus on the long term. To do so, you should start by staying away from highly stimulating activities. Here is a perfect illustration of long-term thinking. Amazon, the world's third largest company, was created in 1994. But had to wait until 2003 to have its first profitable year. That year, it generated a net profit of $35 million, after reporting a net loss of $149 million the previous year. Now, its founder, Jeff Bezos, could probably have made profits earlier, but instead, he decided to reinvest in his business to create strong foundations that, he hoped, would enable Amazon to survive for decades. I encourage you to do the same in your personal and professional life. Build the foundations for success one brick at a time. Build them strong so that they won't collapse at the first obstacle or setback. Remember, long-term thinking is the secret to achieving your goals. But it won't happen today or tomorrow. You must develop the art of patience and consistency. To do so, eliminate the distractions that make you feel restless. Remove the external stimulations that prevent you from focusing on the long-term picture. Then, you will stand a much better chance of ending up where you want to be in the coming years. The bottom line is this. In many aspects, today's society is designed to hijack your dopamine neurotransmitters. And, unfortunately, this is not designed in your best interest. It is designed to empty your wallet as effectively and thoroughly as possible. However, and more importantly, it dramatically erodes your ability to focus, making you feel restless and often bad about yourself. Overstimulated, you find yourself unable to do the difficult things that would have the greatest positive impact on your life and on the lives of people around you. You're overstimulated. While there are many reasons to procrastinate, the most important one and the one overlooked most often is overstimulation. When you are calm and focused, doing your main work can be surprisingly easy. You might even be excited, looking forward to making progress toward your biggest goals each day. However, the problem is that you're often anything but calm and focused. Instead, you're rushing through your day, jumping from one task to the next. You tend to run in circles like a hamster in a wheel, yet you never seem to complete your work. You let interruptions kill your focus, and you waste hours checking your emails, visiting social media sites, or watching one educational video after another. It often starts first thing in the morning when you grab your phone. Then, it continues when you check your emails. But it doesn't stop there. You then decide to visit social media sites for a few minutes. By that time, emails, notifications, and likes will have already triggered the release of dopamine into your system. In short, you've become overstimulated. Now that you've received your dose of stimulation, you can work, right? But what happens when you sit at your desk to work on an important project? Does it come easy, or do you feel like doing everything else but working? Perhaps you tell yourself you can work on that particular task later. Perhaps you suddenly fancy another cup of coffee. Or perhaps you just remembered the email you need to answer. Your work can wait, or so you think. As a result, you're back into your hamster wheel, receiving more and more stimulation. This can last for hours or even days. Do you recognize yourself in the above scenario? The problem with overstimulation. When you're engaging in highly stimulating activities, your brain will keep demanding more and more stimulation. As your level of stimulation rises, regular tasks will appear increasingly dull and unappealing. You'll ask yourself, why work on my book, write a report, or create a marketing plan, when I could be doing something far more exciting? The gap between your current high level of stimulation and the lower level of stimulation needed to tackle difficult tasks leads you to procrastinate. Picture it this way. You're on a different stimulation wavelength, and this wavelength has no overlap with the wavelength you must be in to tackle your major tasks. For instance, as a writer, my most important task is to write, obviously. However, as soon as I start checking social media, signing into YouTube, or looking at my sales figures, I find myself pulled into a whirlpool of distractions from which I can't seem to escape. As my level of stimulation increases, writing becomes one of the most unappealing and challenging tasks imaginable. Now, the key question is, what can we do about it? How can we lower our level of stimulation to make our major tasks appear more appealing and even exciting? We're going to discuss this in the next section.